Hello and welcome to Breakfast All Day. I'm Matt. Alonso is here. Christy is here. They are going to talk about a movie called Mother's Little Helpers because I didn't see it. So you guys go ahead.
So I saw it last year at Outfest. I actually was one of the programmers of the film. I'm not going to give a number, but I can talk about it because I think it's really terrific. This is Melanie Hutsell, late of Saturday Night Live, plays a woman who in the 70s was kind of a legendary rock photographer. She took this very famous album cover photo that sort of like created her reputation, but never really did anything else. And she is dying. And so her children have gathered together. And of course, they come to the table with their own set of quirks and eccentricities and neuroses, trying to figure out how to get their mother through the situation, and along the way, learning some uncomfortable but necessary truths about her and about each other and about themselves. This is a film from director Kestrin Pantera, who actually worked with the cast on kind of a Mike Leigh style. They improvised a lot of the film. They sort of had a basic outline and skeleton for what the story and the characters were, but then beyond that, just sort of created it, as they were shooting it. And while that can be a disaster on screen, I think here it mostly works. There are a lot of sort of moments that I really related to as somebody with a lot of siblings myself, just in terms of the way that you talk to each other, the way you bring up old, sort of family jokes or like, old grudges or whatever it is. So, I think this is very much an actor's showcase, but there's a really strong cast here. Breeda Wool, who you might know from Unreal, Milana Vayntrub, Sam Littlefield. I think they bring a lot to these characters. And Pantera herself is actually in the ensemble as well.
She's very good, too. Yeah,
she is, yeah. I think it all comes off really well.
They're all really good, and it did not feel improvised to me, but it felt very richly lived in, which is a very film criticky kind of thing.
Naturalist.
Yes. And I think because the actors, if this is super loud right now, I apologize. It's going to be like a second. Because the actors had a hand in developing these characters, each of them really gets a lot of opportunity to shine, and they're all very distinct from each other. It'd be easy to have the one main sister, played by Kestrin Pantera, be kind of the dominant one, be the most interestingly flawed one, and the others are kind of minor players comparatively. But all of them come to this momentous moment, life-changing moment, with their own baggage and their own stories and their own states of flux. And it's interesting. I'm an only child, so I don't get this sibling dynamic like you do, Alonso, but it's interesting to see how they very quickly fall back into all of those patterns, right?
Yes.
No matter how old you are or how far removed you are from that core familial unit as a child, like it's still there within you immediately. And that's
snaps right back into place.
Yeah, it's fascinating to see. And Melanie Hutsell I like in this too, as she brings a kind of earthy groundedness to it. But I was a bit distracted by the casting of her because she's really not old enough to be of that era, that 70s era. She's like 51.
No, I mean, yeah, she is. She's playing a character who's significantly older than she is, but I think she pulls it off.
But they're not really trying to age her a whole lot. So I was distracted. Like the casting of it took me out of it, I would say, the whole time, because I'm like doing math in my head going, wait a minute, okay, now what year was it that she was prominent, and how old were these kids? If the youngest one is a doctor, she's got to be like 25. Like she just got out of medical school. Anyway, so that bothered me. But there's even though they didn't shoot it in a whole lot of locations, it's mostly in this house that they all converge back upon. They use the space well, and the flashbacks to their childhood are shot in kind of a gauzy, dreamlike way that puts you in the 70s and also kind of puts you in the mindset of the unreliable nostalgia of their youth.
Yeah, it's very, very sort of Terrence Malick-y kind of flashbacks. Yeah, no, I see your point.
Dinosaurs. Speaking of Terrence Malick,
it's not that Terrence Malick.
And the Cosmos. They're all there.
I see your point about how it didn't take me out of it, but yeah, I suppose if I stopped and thought about it, sure, yes, they probably maybe should have cast an actress in her 70s, perhaps. But yeah, I know. Poof, they disappear. They don't exist. So I think that this movie has sort of modest intentions, but I think it fulfills them very well. And I think that it does sort of, it ultimately does reflect, like, you do feel like these people could be related. Like, there are, that's the thing about siblings. You can be completely different from each other, but you can all sort of follow the threads back to your parents and why you all how you may have all come out of that household differently, but you all came out of that household. And so even though they are very different personality-wise and in their way of approaching life and their goals or whatever, I all bought them as the kids of this woman and the specific damage of this woman and how that gets passed along to her children in various ways.
Yes. And what the hell was I going to say? God damn it. There was an idea in my head that literally left my head.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
And will occur to me. Anyway, no, but
welcome
I like
to parenthood, everyone.
Oh my God. No,
welcome to parenthood.
And I'm drinking water. I'm hydrating. It's very confusing. Anyway, no, I liked all of their dynamics. And, I see. Yeah, I was going to say. This is sort of a familiar premise, like adult siblings going back to
the deathbed of the parent,
to bury a parent or to say goodbye to a parent. And it's, but they find a lot of inspired ways out of the, possible predictability of that premise. And there are some twists and there are some surprises along the way.
Absolutely.
That I believed, actually. That didn't, that I went with, and the way everyone reacts to these developments made sense, and I enjoyed it. That's all I'm going to say because I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, I like this. I'm saying 8.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, I can't really give a number because I've gotten to know some of the filmmakers and I did program it, but if I didn't like it, I wouldn't talk about it at all. So I think it's terrific, and it weirdly, again, like with Spaceship Earth, like a kind of oddly appropriate movie to watch right now because it's about a bunch of people all in one house together.
And they're stuck. Where can people find this? Where can they stream it?
I did not look that up. Is it on like iTunes, or is it the kind of thing where you have to go to your local art house theater and rent it there? I don't really know.
I don't know. It's streamable. I think that with all these movies, people have asked me, like, where can I find it? I think if you just do a Google search, like the
title of the film and the word streaming
pops up is like, okay, it's on Google Play, or it's on Prime, or it's on Netflix. So
right,
they're all clearly.
We need to Google for people.
If you are, it's on. It is on Amazon Prime for rental and other things,
and YouTube.
Oh yeah, for rental on YouTube. But also, we've talked about this in other reviews and in our weekly kind of news wrap up. But like, if you have a local indie art house theater that you, in normal circumstances, would be patronizing, go to the site and see what films they have streaming. Because when you rent the movie from the distributor, you're also helping that venue and helping them, pay their rent, keep their employees on the payroll, whatever it is that they need to get through this. Especially now, period. So, do that. But by all means, check out this movie. It's really delightful.
Great.
Thanks for watching. Christy, what's coming up for on the Michael Jordan front?
So these are the last 2 episodes of The Last Dance, episodes 9 and 10. I was hoping to have Chaz Ebert on last week. We had to do a little bit of schedule juggling, so I had Dan Shaughnessy on last week to do 7 and 8. Chaz will be with me for 9 and 10.
Nice.
So I look forward to talking with her because she was in Chicago during the 90s and has been in Chicago for so long and can really speak to, how Jordan did and still does loom so large for folks who live there. So
and she played for the Bulls for a couple of years, right?
She did. She's tough.
Also, do they really like the thick pizza or do they prefer otherwise? Because I keep hearing
so many kinds of pizza and hot dogs we can talk about. Many kinds of food.
Oh, Gabrett's popcorn.
Yes. And so that is Garrett's is the popcorn place.
Isn't it? Yeah, I think that we buy the big tins. They're amazing.
I don't know. Isn't Garrett's
the ice cream? Hot dog?
Isn't Garrett's the ice cream from Cincinnati?
I'm sure there's multiple Garretts floating around.
There's some kind of ice cream that's from Cincinnati that's very famous because my college roommate was from Cincinnati and her parents would ship us ice cream.
So I just know the chili from Cincinnati. That's the big thing.
Graters.
No, like
Graters ice cream is what I'm thinking of.
Great. Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yes. Anyway, it's all in there somewhere. So yeah, that's it. So we got Last Dance coming, and then we've got Mrs. America, which we're almost wrapping up with at this point.
Yeah, a couple episodes left, so we'll be keeping up with that over at patreon.com/BeFastAllDay. So do check that out. Everybody, have a good week. Take care of yourselves and each other. We'll see you next time.
Bye.